It took me 5 years to learn what I'm about to share with you. And I will teach you this in less than 20 minutes. How to buy a property for less than £1,000 and make £6,000. Look, if you cannot invest 20 minutes to learn how to buy a property for less than £1,000, I'm afraid you're not gonna make it. Keep scrolling and look for entertainment. That will not get you anywhere. For those who stays, let's get into it. My name is Rahim, but I was like most people. I was in a job, working ridiculously long hours, in a job where I was undervalued, underappreciated, going nowhere. I took the leap of faith to start my property investment journey with no money, no savings, no piggy banks, to building a multi-million pound property investment portfolio. And today I've got my estate agency, my renovation company, and I help professionals like yourself to use property as a vehicle to make, manage and multiply income. So let's get to it. But before we get to that, if you're just bumped into this channel or you've watched my content before, but you've never actually thought about hitting the subscribe button, now is the time to hit that subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button now so you can join the family. Go ahead, do it now. I'm waiting for you. Do it now. Fantastic. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it, and I promise you, I will share valuable, actionable content, but also I'm lining up lots of entrepreneurs, business people, influencers to share their ideas of how they all become successful in their own right. So it's gonna blow your mind away. But today I'm here to talk about investment properties. You see, most people want to start their property investment because they want to get rich and obviously make passive recurring income. So if you are one of those, this strategy is for you. So what is this strategy that would allow you to actually buy a property for £1,000? So this strategy is called buy, refurbish, refinance, recycle and rent. It is the process by which you, the investor, would go out in the market, look for a property, ideally a dilapidated house that requires work. I know what you're thinking about. Hello, Rahim, how is that possible if I'm only buying the property for £1,000? Bear with me, I'm going to explain that to you so you get exactly how to do that. I wanted you to understand the concept first. It's all about buying a dilapidated house at discount. You then obviously renovate it by forcing the value. That then allows you to be able to remortgage the property and then enable you to recycle the money. So you rent the property so you can go again and do this multiple times without running out of money. And here's the thing, doing this sort of strategy is like taking a Concorde to New York. Literally, it gets you to financial freedom rapidly, okay? You got to know how to master this strategy. So what are you gonna do? It's basically, first of all, is to look for an investment property that hits this criteria. So you may be thinking, where do I get this property? Especially if you've never looked into properties before and how you can determine what sort of properties to also buy. So if you don't know, these are the platforms you want to go and start looking for these sort of properties. You want to go to a platform called Rightmove. Rightmove is one of the biggest platforms. I think they occupy about 90% of the property market. That is your first stop. The second stop can be Zoopla. Zoopla also have about maybe 3% or 5% of the market. But then you have other platforms like On The Market and all the rest of it, Property Market rather, and all the rest of it. And obviously you can approach estate agencies as well and tell them you're interested in actually buying a property. So I can literally hear the alarm bells in your head. How can I buy a property if I can only buy it for £1,000? How do I actually communicate this to the people I'm buying the property from, right? So that's not going to be a worry. So here's how you're going to do it. What you got to do first is to look for the property. Once you've got that property, suppose then you saw a property online. It's it got to be a dilapidated house, by the way. House that requires work. Think about it this way. If it's think of we, think of me. It got to be dilapidated house, and then it got to be in the right location. Suppose the property is on the market, let's say for about 95 or 90,000 pounds. We can go then and negotiate to buy that property at discount, because end of the day, the property needs some love done to it. It needs to be value needs to be added. Let's say we agree to buy that property, let's say for £80,000. Okay, it was £95,000. We negotiated, we were able to get a bit of discount, we were able to buy that property for £80,000. So £80,000 would be the price we buy that property. Don't worry about how to get the money first. Right, let's get the concept here. I'm gonna walk you through how it's going to work. So it would only cost you £1,000. Okay, bear with me here. I'm taking you through the process. Okay, so With a property that's worth £80,000, if you want to buy it as an investment properties, most lenders will lend you 75% of the amount that you're buying the property. In essence, you only need to put 25%. Some would even lend you 80%, right? Some would even lend you 90%, meaning you only need to put 10% down. So let's go for the worst case scenario. Let's say the bank would only be able to lend you 75% of the £80,000. Right? And then obviously that is £60,000, and then we got to put down our £20,000 deposit. I know you haven't got the money, I know it. Let's just do the figures first. I'll walk you through how you can do that, okay? So let's say then we need to put down a deposit of £20,000. Oh, sorry for interrupting this video. I just wanted to draw your attention to a guide I've just created. This guide is for you if you're looking to start and scale in property investment, and you've got questions that you want to ask in order to start your property investment. This guide is the ultimate guide to start and scale in property investment journey. I talk about the different type of investment strategies. I also discuss the 11 ways you can raise finance to make any property no money down deals, and the type of properties to buy in order to generate a serious return in your investment. And I'm giving this book away for completely free of charge, no string attached, nothing, absolutely free. Click the link on the description of this video to get your free guide now. We've only got a limited number of these copies available as well, so click the link to get your guide now. Let's get back to our video. This then becomes the deposit that we can put to the solicitors to say, look, we've got £20,000. We'll ask the bank to lend us this 75%. If you do that, the bank will always lend you the 75%. So obviously now we got the legal cost, we got the stamp duty and all the other stuff that's surrounding buying a property. That is usually about, let's say, £6,000. So that then takes us to £6,000 to, this is called administration and legal cost. And then obviously because we bought a dilapidated house, or we are gonna buy a dilapidated house, obviously that would cost us a bit of money to do. It's not literally, nobody's gonna live in the property because the property may even be unmortgageable, right? Let's say the renovation cost is about £25,000 plus interest. Let's say it's about £27,500, including interest. So if you go £27,500, okay, so basically that then becomes our renovation cost. So our renovation cost is the amount of money we use to add an extra bedroom perhaps, or maybe add a update the bathroom, update the kitchen, get any property in a nice livable modern condition. In essence, at this point we are forcing the value of the property. So we're taking it from here, we're bringing it here, right? So once it's hit that level, then you've then added that value. So the initial cost then for this sort of investment would be $53,500. So that's our initial investment, right? Now, you may be thinking, what, Rahim, I thought you said it's £1,000. Well, how is it £53,000 now when you said I can buy it for £1,000? Bear with me. So here's what you're gonna do. If you got a property like this, you've worked out the figures this way, you don't need your money, right? You can go and attract investment for this sort of properties because it's clearly showing that there's something there. But I'm gonna walk you through how you can do that. So our initial investment is £53,500, okay? So now let's fast forward to have done the property. I know we have not done it yet in reality, but we've got to future forecast that because we've got to know whether we're making profit from it or not. Okay, you got to know that first. So what we now got to do basically is to say, okay, now with this sort of properties, if you know what you're doing, right, properties like that would, doing all the works, upgrading the property, adding an extra bedroom or something like that, would have forced that value to £150,000. So we've taken the property from being an £80,000 property to £150,000. Why? Because we had used this part here to add value. So we have added value to the property. That's what we've done here. Hence the reason why we got the £150,000. So at that point, right, we got to go and remortgage the property to a new lender. Suppose initial money was borrowed by someone else, let's say another bank, or another private lender or other investors, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, right? So then you're going to now go to a mortgage lender, like a proper buy-to-let mortgage lender. In most cases, 99% of the time, the bank will go and value this property, and they will come back and say, if they're happy with that, they will lend you a minimum of 75% of the £150,000, right? That then becomes your mortgage amount. So that is £112,500. Okay, £112,500. So obviously this money goes to a solicitor's account, because obviously you're doing a remortgage. They're not actually gonna pay the money directly into your account. They don't want you to run away with it, right? It goes into the solicitor's account at this point. Okay, so what then you're gonna think about as an investor? Then you're gonna look at your initial investment. So we know our initial investment was 53,500. This was our initial investment. This is the money we incur to buy the property. Not your money, by the way. Bear with me. I'm going to walk you through that process. But I'm looking at this here. Your 20,000 deposit, the 6,000 legal and stamp duty. Obviously, the 27,500 that we use to renovate the house, that takes us to 53,500. So that's the initial investment that we did to bring the property to £150,000. And obviously, remember, we had an existing loan, right? The 75% the bank lenders initially to buy the property at £80,000. Obviously, we got to pay that back, okay? So that is £60,000, okay? £60,000 at this point, okay? So basically, what we then got to do here is to work out the figures. So we've got 112,500, which the bank borrowed us at the value of the 150,000. We deduct our 53,500. Obviously, then we deduct the 60,000 that we've already borrowed at initial stage. That then gives us a minus £1,000. This £1,000 then becomes the cost you incur to buy your property, okay? In essence, you nearly recycle all the money apart from £1,000. And that £1,000 is what now you're gonna take out of your pocket, actually to add on top of this £53,000 so you can pay back whoever that money came from. So that then gets us to here then. How do you raise that money? How would you be able to buy a £80,000 property that now worth £150,000 for £1,000? So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go and raise that money. So now, how do you raise the money? You raise the money by presenting the deal like this to an investor. You can say, look, I've got this amazing property. This property worth £95,000. I was able to secure it for £80,000. And I only need £27,000 to renovate the house plus the deposit and stamp duty. So literally, I only need £53,000. And here's the thing. If you borrow me the £53,000, I'm prepared to pay you £2,500 for the money you've borrowed me. Hello? Right, and say, by the way, actually, you don't need to lend me the money for the whole year, literally just 6 months, right? This is because you might not know what you're doing at this point. But if you're working with me, then obviously it will take you about 2 to 16 weeks, okay? So basically then, if you present this, I'll pay you £2,500 for lending me the £57,500. Here's the thing. There's no other way they will make that money in that very short period of time, because the bank pays them peanuts and you're offering them £2,500 on their 53,000. It's not even 53,000 now, because if you minus the 2,500 from this, you're talking about on their £51,000. So you basically are giving them £2,500 extra on top of that, right, for lending you the money for 6 or so months. Okay, you may be thinking, why would they do that? Right? Because that's the question you may be asking. Why can't they just do it themselves? Because they don't know what you know. That's the first thing. You now know this strategy, right? You've heard about it, right? Now you know it works, right? They might not know that. If you can promise to pay literally £2,500 for borrowing you that £50,000, of course they will do it, right? But you got to provide the value upfront by presenting this deal to them. Because if you present that deal to them, they've got something that they're looking at that is solid, okay? Suppose then we've done that, we've got the money, we've raised it. Basically, I'm telling you now, this happened, right? This happened, right? I work with investors to raise funds, literally got no money left in. So, but you're lucky, this is only costing me £1,000, right? It's not something that is just, whoa, this is crazy, I'm not gonna do. If you put your mind to it, you put your heart to this, you will get that deal closed. And if you're wondering, how was I able to build a multi-million pound property investment portfolio? It's doing exactly what I just shared with you here. And this took me 5 years to learn. And I've just got the idea and the knowledge, the insight in about 20 minutes or so. Assuming that then that property then only cost us £1,000. Properties like this, you can rent it and make a net profit of £500 per month. This is basically 50% already of your initial investment, which is your £1,000. Assume then you've got this property, you've rented it, and then obviously you've got your tenant in, and those tenants allows you to make at least £500 every single month. You times that by 12, you're talking about £6,000 net profit for one single house. Imagine then you build a good rapport with those investors. They lend you the same money again. You go again and buy more investment properties. This is how you buy a house for £1,000 and make £6,000 a year, right? So this is what you want to be thinking about, so you can make your money work a lot harder for you, but also get you to financial freedom. You may be thinking, look, very exciting. I love this sort of strategy. I really want to know how to do this. If you do, I would love to invite you to a very special one-to-one consultation with one of my consultants to walk you through the process of how we could help you achieve doing something like this that will get you a little bit closer to financial freedom. The link is on the description below. So click on that to reserve your spot for a one-to-one consultation. But if this video has been absolutely amazing to you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you on the other side.